Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in today on Night Owl Video. And today on Cult Movie Tuesdays, I'm reviewing this bad boy, Mad Max. And I've been waiting to review this one, but I kind of wanted to wait till I rewatched it again. I've seen this movie so many times. This is, I was out for a walk earlier today, and I was thinking, I wonder if this movie is probably in my top 10 movies of all time. My top 10 favorite movies of all time. My personal top 10 favorite. I love this movie. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I've seen this movie so many times. So today we're going to be talking about this movie. I'll be giving you the cast, production, where you can watch it, my thoughts, all that jazz is coming up. So before I do that, thank you to everybody who's subscribed. As of recording this video, I am up to 191 followers. Amazing. Thank you to everybody who's decided to subscribe and tune in and leave comments and give me the thumbs up, and it has been really cool. I'm hoping I can break 200 subscribers by the end of the week. On that note, this week, of course, Mad Max is today. Tomorrow, Wednesday, is going to be a all-new thrifting haul with some really cool stuff. And then on Friday, for Fright Friday, I'm doing the 2006 William Friedkin movie, Bug. So tune in for that on Friday. But today, let's get on with it because I love this movie and I have a lot to say about it. This is an action sci-fi film from 1979, Australian baby, directed by George Miller, who also did Mad Max 2, Mad Max 3, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, as well as Mad Max Fury Road, as well as an upcoming Furiosa. I don't know if it's going to be called Mad Max Furiosa, but that's apparently in post-production from what I read. So this movie stars Mel Gibson, a young Mel Gibson right there, who was, of course, in Mad Max 2 and 3. He was also in the Lethal Weapon film series, and he was also in the 2002 M. Night Shyamalan movie Signs, which is one of my, it's one of my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies. Let's just put it that way. But not one of my all-time favorite movies, but I did enjoy it. Kind of spooky. Remember when that alien walked across the... Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Spooky. This also stars Joanne Samuel, Hugh Keys-Byrne, and Steve Beasley. Now, I didn't say what movies all three of those people were in because from what I can tell, they were true blue Australian actors and pretty much only appeared in Australian productions, with the exception of Hugh Keys-Byrne, who did come back in 2015 to play Immortan Joe in Mad Max Fury Road. He has since passed away in 2020. I think he was in his 70s. I think I read that he passed away peacefully in his sleep. So God love you, Hugh Keys-Byrne, who also played Immortan Joe. And if you're wondering who that character is in Fury Road, he was the dude with the mask with the hoses coming off of it there, and like I think it had maybe a mouth painted on the mask or something. Really, really scary looking character. But anyway, he did come back for that, and that was cool. He did pass away. Rest in peace. So the synopsis for this film. In the not too distant dystopian future, when man's most precious resource, oil, has been depleted and the world plunged into war, famine, and financial chaos, the last vestiges of the law in Australia attempt to restrain a vicious biker gang. Max, played by Mel Gibson, an officer with the MFP, or Main Force Patrol, launches a personal vendetta against a biker gang. I'm not going to tell you why he launches a personal vendetta against them, because that would give away the ending of the movie, and then if you didn't see it, you'd be really mad at me, so I will not say that, but suffice to say, this is the ultimate revenge, this is the ultimate revenge thriller. And just thinking of that, it made me think of Mandy, because George Cosmatos has cited that he said, like, thank God this movie got made because that inspired him. And if you watch Mandy, you can clearly see the connection. But I digress. So principal photography for this film took place in and around Melbourne, Australia, and it lasted for about 6 weeks. I think it was supposed to take more like 10 weeks, but I think there was some, I can't remember what, there were some issues with the filming, but they shot it in 6 weeks. This was the first in the series, of course, as I mentioned. Mad Max 2 came out in 1981, Beyond Thunderdome in 1985, Fury Road in 2015, and apparently there's a fifth movie called Furiosa, which is supposed to come out sometime. That is Charlize Theron's character in Fury Road. And I really hope they do make it, because I thought Fury Road was really good. I will review that at some point as well. But it was like, I remember when that came out, and I could be wrong, but I think Quentin Tarantino said that, like, George Miller, he's like, we just all got schooled by George Miller, who's a man in his 70s, who came back after all these years to make Mad Max Fury Road, and he's like, he just schooled us on how to make an action movie. And I always thought that was really cool, because he definitely did. Like, he came along and did Fury Road and just kind of set everyone straight. It's like, here's how you do an action movie, okay? So, and that movie went on to make crazy money at the box office. So I'm sure Furiosa is on its way. It says it's in post-production, according to Wikipedia, if you believe that or not. I'll give you a different view for a few minutes. So this movie received pretty polarized reception upon its release in April of 1979, although it did go on to win a bunch of awards. This was filmed on a budget of $400,000, and it earned more than $100 million gross revenue, and it set a Guinness record for the most profitable film. You might have to fact check that. I think, let me see, because I got another little information tidbit here, and I thought it said something about, so it says Mad Max grossed $5.3 million at the box office in Australia and over $100 million worldwide. Given its small production budget, it was the most profitable film ever made at the time and held the Guinness World Record for the highest box office to budget ratio of any motion picture until the release of Blair Witch Project in 1999. So there you go. I knew I had my facts straight somewhere. So apparently, now allegedly, with the explosion of this film, like the critical praise and just it just blew up. This really opened the doors for a lot of Australian cinema. Now, I'm not an Australian cinema buff, so I really can't go into great detail, but according to the internet, this did kind of open some doors for Australian cinema to get more visibility. Now, apparently George Miller, who's the director, as I mentioned, was a medical doctor in Sydney, working in a hospital emergency room where he saw many injuries and deaths, which, he ended up depicting in the film. He also witnessed many car accidents growing up in rural Queensland, and he lost 3 of his best friends to accidents as a teenager. So he was going into this like pretty scarred by, I guess, what he had seen. And this movie doesn't hold back on this graphicness. So I'm only guessing that that's where a lot of that stuff came from. George Miller considered casting an American actor, but he said, quote, to get this film seen as widely as possible, and he traveled to Los Angeles, but apparently he opted out of doing that because he said that the whole budget would be taken up if he used an American actor. So I guess he wanted a bigger name, but I don't think Mel Gibson was like a big star at this time. I think he was like just kind of like an up and coming one, and all the other actors as well. So I think like some of them have been in other stuff, but I think most of these actors were unknown, and they were especially unknown in the United States and the world outside of Australia. So he wanted to deliberately pick like some of these unknown actors to kind of give it more of an authentic feel. That included most of the biker gang that was in the film. Apparently, they were actual Australian outlaw motorcycle clubs, and they used their own motorcycles in the film. The car is there. So they use these cars. This was a 1974 Ford Falcon XB sedan. These cars are so cool looking, and they got them painted like that yellow and red and orange, I think, or something like that. Or maybe it's yellow. But and then at the end, of course, when Max goes to get his revenge, he has a black car. So, to imply this kind of like death and like darkness and stuff like that. So, but the main cars in the movie, these Ford Falcons, are so cool. I love 70s muscle cars anyway, so this was just like porn for me. Like I just love watching it. It's like when I watched Death Proof for the first time, I was like, oh my God, to see like, I grew up watching Dukes of Hazzard, and I always thought the Charger was a really cool car, but then to see it in Death Proof, like not like painted like the General Lee, obviously, and looking a little more menacing, man, I love that. So these cars are really, really cool. If you're into 70s muscle cars and like action movies, like you're probably gonna like this stuff. It is really cool. I don't know why I went off on such a tangent about those cars, but I really do think they look so cool. And on the back, they've all got like names. And Max, on the back of his car, it says Interceptor. And I thought, just the image of that car kind of pulling off that dirt road onto the highway, and he's driving real slow, and you just see it says Interceptor, and it's like so badass. In fact, yes, after I watched this yesterday, I thought I should put on my on the mud guard on my bicycle. I should put Interceptor on there. I'm strange. Anyway, so Miller described the whole experience of making this film as guerrilla filmmaking. The crew apparently closed roads without filming permits. They weren't using walkie-talkies because the frequency would coincide with the police radio. And even at the end of the day, George Miller and they would have to go up and down the road and like sweep stuff up and like clean up. And now, allegedly, as the filming progressed, the Victoria Police became interested in the production, and they began to help the crew by closing down roads and escorting vehicles. Now, I don't know if that's legit. I haven't listened to the commentary or anything, but that allegedly happened. So that would be kind of cool if that was true. The film's post-production was done at a friend's apartment in North Melbourne with Miller and Kennedy. Kennedy, that's the producer, Byron Kennedy. Excuse me, I didn't mention him. They were editing the film in this friend's apartment in a lounge room, using a home-built editing machine that Kennedy's father, who was an engineer, had designed for them. So this was like low budget, like I said, guerrilla filmmaking. Probably this is why it appeals to me so much, because it's a little more grounded, a little more realistic, and in a way, a little more gritty and terrifying, really. I mean, to see these cars racing up and down the highway and stuff. And the madness that ensues, of course. When Mad Max was released in the United States in 1980, the original Australian dialogue had been redubbed by American voice actors, and much of the Australian slang and terminology was replaced. This has original Australian English Dolby Digital, and it also has original Australian English. So, and it also does have the American English dubbed in mono. So I listened to it, or I watched it with the Australian, because I'm not dumb and I can understand what they're saying. But I guess for American audiences at that time, they had to dub the Australian voices because people couldn't understand what they were saying, and get rid of all the slang, which I think is really, really silly. But I guess that was the time. I don't know. Like I said, this film grossed $5.3 million in Australia, and then over $100 million worldwide. So, as I mentioned earlier, the film was kind of a polarizing film for critics. I did copy this from Wikipedia, which, allegedly. In a 1979 review, the Australian social commentator and film producer Philip Adams condemned Mad Max, saying that it had, quote, all the emotional uplift of Mein Kampf, unquote, and would be, quote, a special favorite of rapists, sadists, child murderers and incipient Mansons, unquote. After its United States release, Tom Buckley of the New York Times called the film, quote, ugly and incoherent. And this will be disappointing. Stephen King, writing in Dance Macabre, called it a turkey, a quote-unquote turkey. So, I don't know. I know there's a lot of people out there that live and die by Stephen King, but he called Mad Max a turkey, so can we really trust? I mean, I know he did do that quote on the Evil Dead poster, but he called this film a turkey, and I have to disagree with you, Mr. King. This movie is definitely not a turkey. This movie is like a golden goose. This movie currently holds a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. I feel probably over the years, which is what, 40 some years now, this film has attained a much better reception from folks watching it. And I think, and I could be wrong, but this is my own speculation, that probably through home video, this movie really found its legs. I mean, it did really well at the box office, but with critics, I don't know. Sometimes critics can be so harsh, but I do feel like this movie has been reappraised over the years and now considered a cult classic, which is why I am reviewing it on Cult Movie Tuesdays right here on Night Owl Video. I got no problem giving this movie a 5 out of 5. I freaking love this movie. I'm thinking about doing my top 25 favorite films of all time. I'm quite sure I'm confident in saying that this would probably be in the top 10. Yeah, I've seen this movie so many times. Now, that said, I don't think I saw this in the 80s. I think I saw this when I was, got into my young adult years. Then I saw it, and then I fell in love with it. And then I've been watching it over and over and over again. I've had this on multiple VHS copies and then this DVD. I'm hoping to upgrade it to a Blu-ray, but because I would like to see it in a better quality. But the cars, the tone and the mood of this film, which I think is Australia in 1979, like late 70s Australia, it's just got a really weird vibe to it, but it's like super cool. The tension is, I know this sounds cliche, the tension is palpable in this movie. I mean, the violence and the tension, and I don't want to give away the story in case you've never seen it, but some stuff happens to Max and his reactions, and it is so intense. You'll know, anybody who's seen this movie, if I say the scene where Goose goes to the hospital, you know that scene. And there's a lot of close-ups on eyes, bulging out of their heads, and oh God, I could watch this movie over and over, and I have. The attention to detail, the character development was really good too. Even minor characters in this movie get attention, get development. So this movie's got it all. This edition is really bare bones. I got this probably about 10 years ago from a $5 bargain bin at Walmart. So this is not like a fancy edition of this film by any stretch. I think there's a nicer, I don't know who put out that Blu-ray, if it was Shout Factory or I found a copy of the Blu-ray. It's a 2-disc set. I found it at a pawn shop. When I opened it up, it had disc 1, but the second disc in the case was some other movie, not related at all. So I couldn't buy it. I was so disgusted, but this is a bare bones edition from 2016 from MGM. I'm trying to see if I don't think there's any special features on this. No. It's 94 minutes. See what else kind of information I can find on this for you. It's rated R. It's rated 18 in Canada, so not for little kids, obviously. But yeah. Oh my God. I could probably talk about this movie for a long time. Oh, there's the disc art is different, which is kind of cool. That's quite slick, actually. I like that. But yeah, this is just, oh my God. I could really like space out just looking at this cover. But yeah, so 94 minutes long. It goes by real quick. It's action packed. There's no pacing issues with this movie. Like George Miller, like now I like The Road Warrior, the second movie. I actually don't ever think I've seen Beyond Thunderdome. I just didn't hear good things about it, and I always skip that one. Fury Road blew me away. I'm sure Furiosa is going to be the same, but this movie is like this is like top of the list for cult classics, in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Max Rokitansky, Mel Gibson, just killer. There's so many good scenes in this movie. There's so like I could spend another half an hour just talking about all the crazy scenes in it, but do yourself a favor, watch this. Like I said, you can watch it, or maybe I didn't mention this. You can watch this for free on Tubi. I actually have it playing in the background. It's actually a better quality than the DVD. You can also rent this on YouTube and Google, but it's like $20 to rent it. But Apple TV does have it for rent as of the recording of this video for $4.99. But you can watch it for free on Tubi, so don't be afraid to watch it on there. It's legit. Tubi's legit. Tubi rules, actually, for movie lovers. But let's look at that disc one more time. Look at that thing. That is cool. Oh. But yeah, this is definitely one on my my physical media watch list because I definitely want to upgrade this to a nicer edition and probably on Blu-ray. But in the meantime, you can watch a perfectly great version of this on Tubi. So let me know your thoughts on Mad Max. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you've seen it, if you haven't seen it, but you want to. Give me the thumbs up if you like this review. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Follow me over on Instagram at Night Owl Video. And like I said, this coming Friday, I'm doing a review of the 2006 film Bug. And tomorrow, Wednesday, I have a great big Easter thrifting haul. I went on vacation last week and got a whole bunch of stuff while I was away in a different province. So I got some really cool stuff to show you there. So be sure to tune in for that. Until next time, I will see you at the video store or the thrift store or maybe on the outback highway of Australia driving some cool car. Who knows? But until next time, take good care of yourselves. And I will see you on the next video, which is tomorrow, a big, massive VHS, DVD, a thrifting haul. So be sure to tune in for that. Until then, take good care of yourself, and thank you for watching. Bye.